Hello, everybody. Welcome to Subconscious Sundays. I am Reverend April Kling, and with me, as always, is my delightful co-host, the wonderful and amazing Timothy Freeman. How are you today, Tim?
Doing great. How's everybody doing joining us today? Thanks for being here if you're with us live.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for being here. And today we'll be talking a little bit about adaptation and evolution, which our streaming platform has made a little jump into a different user interface, and I'm having to adapt to that a little bit. So apologies for slight tardiness and some kind of sketchy issues that getting into the show that will hopefully work out the kinks as we go forward with future episodes. But before we dive into today's topic, we always want to state our intentions with you and make it very clear what we're here to do.
Yeah, so we, in every episode, we try to make this a fun and entertaining, or at least laid back way to discuss potentially serious and heavy topics.
And we always remain open and inviting, welcoming any of you who have questions or ideas, even if they're a little bit different, to respectfully bring those into the conversation. We welcome that.
And we've begun again our weekly ritual, this season 3 now of Subconscious Sundays, where we love to be able to gather our shared communities here in a sacred space, virtual sacred space here to share our knowledge and hear your responses.
Yes, our core values here are to be respectful of everyone's individual journey, to stay rooted in compassion for ourselves and others, and to promote growth, expansion, and create this supportive community for not just us, but for you as well. Well, today's topic is definitely going to be, I think, a fun one. And our lunchtime poll was, well, we didn't get too many responses. We didn't get a lot, but the responses we got were really deep. And one of them kind of became some food for further thought. So I'll go ahead and dive into that. So the poll this week on Wednesday was, what aspects of our daily lives are the results of adaptations? And our always stalwart companion along this journey, the dearest, one most wonderful bear, says, on the physical realm, all. And I do actually completely agree with that. And I'm glad somebody said it because it's true. I think today we're going to talk a little bit about paring down what these adaptations are and what they do, and being very specific to a certain set of adaptations, and how are these adaptations? How could they be classified as evolution? And with us always, not always, but with us today, and whose answer I'm just about to share is dear Jason, the red squirrels. And he says, is faith the lens we adapt to see by, not to see what is, but to see in a way we can endure? And I told Jason at that point, I have to ponder that. But I did ponder that in good faith. And I wanted to say, that's a great question. And I would say that in specifically the Course in Miracles, it says that anything that we believe we are perceiving is an illusion. So, by that rationale, I would say that faith is absolutely a lens we adapt to see by. It's a coping mechanism. Any faith, any belief, any idea that we have is really the product of our imagination in order to cope with life. So, yes, faith is a lens we adapt to see by. And he goes on to say that your question about adaptation made me think about walking home last night, seeing a dark shape, and my immediate whispered prayer, please let that be leaves and not a rat. And he said also, it made me realize that my faith lens kicks in precisely when my normal vision fails me, when I'm afraid of what's real. And it really is. It ties in so beautifully with what I was able to learn from doing Question Miracles, which is to say that what we perceive is not real, and unless it is a perceiving of love, right? And that in and of itself is a belief. That in and of itself is a faith and a faith path. Course in Miracles is its own way of seeing the world. So it certainly gave me a lot to think about for this week's topic, and I do really appreciate anything that makes me think.
Well, yeah, thank you, Jason, because this is a really great response to this question. And it makes me think, I've had the thought recently, we do have to adapt to everything that is life. And a lot of that is the way we form our beliefs to just
Yeah.
endure, like you said. I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. It was a great way of putting it, really. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about what adaptation and evolution kind of means within this framework of subconsciousness. And I certainly think that both of their responses factor into what it is that I'm at least going to say. And I think that, Tim, you've had a chance to kind of look over what I'm going to say, and it pretty much are going to be in the same alignment there. But what I wanted to say today mostly about adaptation is that, yes, kind of like Bear said, all life is adaptation, but why? And I want to talk a little bit about the idea of something we call core wounds. And I'm not going to assume that everybody knows what a core wound is, so I'm going to go into some depth here. When we come into existence, when we're born into a story that's already unfolding. We come into existence with a pre-existing past that didn't involve us and has really nothing to do with us. And then we come into that story, and more often than not, our roles are placed upon us long before we're even fully conscious. We have no control over this. We have no control over the early narratives of our infant life, and very little control of the framework of our childhood lives. And it's often the source of projections, like our caregivers, our earliest caregivers. Those could be our parents. These can be anybody who took care of us when we were infants, any siblings that were in the environment, project these roles upon us. And I think that's a pretty universal thing. It would be to say that nobody has this is to say that they had very, very, very enlightened, highly enlightened, like, parents or caregivers from the onset. And I don't even think monks are this enlightened to not project onto tiny infants and have an idea of who they are before we could even let that unfold, right? So, but sometimes in the instance of core wounds, these roles are placed upon us, and they can be harmful to us, hurtful to us. These are often the most difficult roles to notice that they're even there, that we're playing. And for that reason, and for many other reasons, they're difficult to overcome. Or if they're harmful, they're even more difficult to heal. And this is what we call core wounds. So I would say that so much of our life and so much of our identity, and I would say a huge amount of our subconsciousness, is tied up with the early roles that are projected upon us and given to us And therefore, because some of that can be harmful, a lot of our identity is tied up to a core wound. And these, how you can tell that it's a core wound and how you can tell that it needs some addressing, I refer to it as healing, but special care, it could be applied here, is that if it presents itself as a story that we are told about ourselves continually, like a theme that we're continually told about ourselves, that we then go around and tell ourselves these stories, that these are told to us and then we tell them to ourselves about ourselves. And I'm not talking about anecdotes. I'm talking about this idea of who it is we believe we are is continually reinforced in ways that are go back beyond before our ability to be conscious of it, to the point where we don't even question it anymore. It is basically, if you're into magic, it's so like someone has cast a spell on you and you have no idea. But in terms of hypnosis, which is what Tim's specialty is, it's like we've been hypnotized all our lives to believe this thing about ourselves to be true, which may or may not be true. And if it's harmful, I'm here to tell you it's probably not true. Now, this story that we tell ourselves, if it's a core wound, it's usually going to take the shape of I am not blank enough to be good, whole, or worthy of love, worthy of money, worthy of care, worthy of attention, worthy of partnership. I am not blank enough to be that. This could be I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not sweet enough. I'm not polite enough or organized enough. You know, the list is endless. But if you can go back in your mind and hear the voices of your earliest caregivers, as well-intentioned as they may or may not have been, echoing this story, you could probably say with a pretty high degree of certainty that that's pointing to what's called a core wound. And if we're not conscious of this, our holistic, meaning our entire realm of adaptations, will be around suiting this narrative, whether it's true or not, and whether it serves you or not, whether it's harmful or not, or helpful or not. And so much of our identities and so much of around the decisions around our lives can be formed around this core wound being not healed and also true. Now, similarly, we are, as Bear put it, in the physical realm. It affects everything we do. Adaptation is everything. It's everything we do. In our lives, if we're not conscious of this, well, because we're not conscious of this, we're continually put in situations and environments where we're forced to adapt to these roles that are placed on us by everyone around us. We're forced, in other words, to adapt to everybody's projections. This creates tons of confusion in our lives. And in order for us to make sense of the way people treat us, we adapt. And this usually remains unconscious, but we can also tell on a conscious level when this is happening, when we're very, very, very confused by the way that people treat us or react to us. If it ties into our core wounds, just for an example, let me give some examples of what I'm talking about, like the scenarios I'm talking about: workplaces, school, social groups, and last but not least, and certainly not the end of the list, which is not exhaustive, having an online presence is a place where we are presenting ourselves and presenting our identities to be formed by the way. And we talked about this in Ideals and Idols a little bit. And we also talked about this in season 1 about roles and masks. So those could be good review episodes for this. So if they're tied to our core wounds, we continue that self-harm by not addressing the wound, by not healing it, by not being aware it's even there, and forming our identity around something that's just plain not true. So,
Adapting our life around it.
adapting our entire lives around this. And that doesn't always serve us, right? And I'm not here to say that it's a bad thing or a good thing, because I try to shy away from bad or good. But I do want to say that there is a different way to live than adapting to something that's not true or harmful. And I would like to put out there that my theory is that evolution in this particular framework is the process of adaptation that ideally offers progress and improvement. So to evolve is to heal out of these core wounds, to adapt away from the reality that those wounds and early narratives present, and usually into their opposite. So I kind of have like a 4-step process here, and it is not new information to me. And probably not new information to you, Tim, certainly not to you. But this 4-step process is generally how people turn things around. And I would say that as far as the more popular voices in the world that have brought this type of process into fruition, now I'm not plagiarizing here. This is very much my own work, but it's an echo of work that I've seen by the likes of, say, Marianne Williamson or Byron Katie. And so this 4-step process is so. Number 1, become conscious of the early narratives that are presented to you before you were capable of being aware. Number 2, notice any part of that narrative that contains a message that you are not blank enough to be good, whole, or worthy. Number 3, consider all the evidence that you have presented or have been presented by others that you are, in fact, blank enough to be good, whole, and worthy. And number 4, move more fully into that reality by making everyday conscious choices that align with the idea that you are enough, that you are blank enough. And that is how you would evolve as you adapt, because we're always adapting. But the difference is if we're evolving with those adaptations, is that we're moving further and further away from something that's harmful, something that isn't true, and into something that's nourishing, something that is life-giving, full of love, full of respect. We're moving more towards that, and therefore into the truth. And I know that there may be some response to that. So I'm going to just conclude my my screed with all of that and hand it over to Tim for some response.
Well, I find this really interesting, and I like the way you kind of depicted this, where we are always adapting. In fact, the the term subconscious, for the more technical and more scientific term might be adaptive unconscious, right? Like always adapting. Under our conscious awareness, we're always adapting to those roles that were put on us, to the stories that we start believing for ourselves, everything you depicted there, right? So I just want to kind of help review this for myself and our listeners too. So you're kind of saying adaptation, it's always happening. It's how we're changing in response to the stimuli around us, whether it's self-imposed or imposed by others. And then there's evolution, which is adaptation that's moving towards improvement, or what was the other word? Progress or improvement. And I might also add too, if we kind of keep or put this in a biological framework, with these terms automatically lend themselves to, right? Like
Yeah, of course.
evolutionary adaptations are what have gotten us here on this computer and doing all these fancy things.
With apologies to Charles Darwin.
Yeah. So, all right. I just want to review your 4 points though, because I think this is kind of cool to reiterate for the show. So number 1, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if I got this right, but become conscious of the early narratives, right? Presented to you before you were capable of being aware. So you and I both do work on this level with people.
Yeah.
The key to this here is before you're able, this is it's not exactly pre-conscious. It becomes pre-conscious. it echoes out into our later life in ways that we are not consciously aware of. That's
Hmm.
where hypnotherapy and the kind of counseling work that April does like helps you get into and develop a more intimate connection with your subconscious or your adaptive unconscious. Sometimes this is impossible without that level of work.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
just want to add that, like, to become
Yeah, I
conscious
agree.
of the early narratives, we forget, especially if they're painful, it gets shoved out, like, right? It gets
Yep.
shoved to the side, shoved into the shadows. All right. Number two, notice any part of the narrative that contains a message that you are not blank enough. I mean, this is, you can just kind of sum this up and say inadequacy, like, or what is the feeling here? Inadequacy. But this is really core because it's so wide ranging, right?
Yes, it is.
Um, Even the most confident person at some point is going to feel like they're not blank enough, right? So that's why I want
Right.
to reiterate this is like noticing that. I think that's the point you're trying to make. And correct me if I'm wrong here. You're prompting us to just notice when that pops up in our conversation with ourselves in our head, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Very useful. Because if you start noticing it, you'll notice it more than you might
Yeah.
expect.
And you'll
Um,
start noticing when it's being put on you too. And it's
right.
like becomes really obvious to you and maybe not to the people who are putting it on you, which
Right.
is hard and can create conflict.
Right. And that's I think where you call it harmful. It's not like this is malicious in most
Not
cases,
necessarily, right?
right? Not necessarily, at least maybe not necessarily most cases, but it's not necessarily malicious, but it can be harmful if it's far from the truth, as you put it, right?
Right.
Okay, so then number three, to reiterate, consider all the evidence you have that you are blank enough. Our negativity bias makes this more difficult for us because it's very easy for us to notice where we're not blank enough. It's a
Right.
little more challenging for us. And the way you sequence this is smart because you have to notice where we're telling ourselves or other people are telling us or whatever our experience is giving us an indication that we're not blank enough.
Hmm.
And then to take it the next step and say, well, what's the evidence contrary to that we are blank enough? You really have to be intentional on that,
Yeah,
right?
you really do.
Because that's not what's programmed into our subconscious.
No. No, in fact, I referred to it one time as and then referred to it like this from henceforth as an Easter egg hunt for evidence that our core wound is true. Like we're always on the hunt
Right.
for that. And
That's
if
a
we're not
really,
aware of that, then we can't be like, "Oh God, I really need to check and see if this is actually real and true here."
you're right. And because of our inborn negativity bias, and maybe it bears mention here what that even is. I'm sure most of our listeners know what this is, but it's an evolutionary adaptation. Our
Yes, it is.
negativity bias, right? Like if we weren't
Mhm.
paying attention to all the things that were wrong or dangerous in our environment, we would have been killed by them, or we were. Humans were killed by them. And so the ones
Mhm.
that carried the genes through are the ones who, like, I think about this with birds, and this will come in later. But
Ah.
birds, we've got an interesting connection with birds where I think there's some people are afraid of birds, outliers aside. Most people have this kind of fondness. There's a bit of a fondness, or like, people like birds.
Yeah, I
Birds don't
like
like
birds.
people.
Yeah, birds don't like people.
That not
It's
necessarily,
true.
they're not, and it might not be like or dislike, right? But they've evolved an adaptation to pay attention to their danger in a way that's way more vigilant than even we are, and so they
Mhm.
flee,
They
right?
fear us.
So,
Yeah.
but we do that too. That's our negativity bias, and so
Mhm.
we have to come to cross purpose with that intentionally by paying intentional attention to where the evidence in our life that we are indeed organized pretty sweet enough in our life. And then
Yeah.
number 4, move more fully into that reality by making everyday conscious choices that align with the idea that you are enough. Excellent. Easier said than done,
Way
right?
easier said than done.
This is where we help also. Like, this is where hypnotherapy helps. This is where what you do with your counseling really helps, like, make this habitual. I just want to run through those again because there's a lot in there that we could unpack. But I think this is the core thrust of your message. It's
Yeah.
like, there are ways we can not just adapt to survive or endure, as our commenter put it. Like, a lot of our beliefs are just adaptations to endure. But we can adapt to evolve, so to speak. And that, as you put it, is adapting towards progress or improvement, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that improvement doesn't necessarily have to mean like you become a better person. That would be great. But really, improvement here or progress really speaks to the condition of your felt sense of life, the way that your life feels to you, the way that you relate to others will be affected by that. And when you said that that's easier said than done on number 4, and really kind of all of this whole process is easier said than done. And we talk about a lot of stuff on here that's easier said than done. But that idea that we are moving more fully into the reality that our core wound is wrong requires breaking down some extremely fundamental realities, like fundamental pillars of our reality that were established before we were conscious, as we have said in this episode, which is hard. And I'm telling you, when I've gone through this and I've witnessed so many others at this point go through this, it feels delusional. And it really is just a simple it really is just a simple way of saying that just to say that you're enough to deserve a better felt sense of life, a better way of going about the world and relating to other people. If you have a core wound that says you're not good enough for that, then telling yourself that you are good enough for a better experience of life is going to feel delusional. This is not asking you to say that you're pretending that you're a billionaire, or it's really just trying to say, or like say something like a verifiable fact is incorrect and the opposite is actually factually correct. We're dealing with opinions here. We're dealing with very, very hard
That
to
become beliefs.
quantify. Yeah, exactly. Hard to quantify opinions. We're talking about the idea of good and bad, which is extremely relative. And we're talking about the notions of being smart, being pretty, being tall, all very relative concepts compared to other people's slash objects. So it is going to feel delusional to take on an opposite opinion of something that you've been programmed to believe. And I guess what I'm trying to say is you might need help with that. And we'll talk about that at the end, of course. But I want Tim to have the floor now and take you through an exercise that might help you with overcoming this really foundational aspect of the self.
Yeah, thanks, April. This topic came about with us, I think, as it always happens. We say this every single time. We both kind of had, when we say to the universe, okay, we're gonna dive into adaptation and evolution. The universe serves it up to us in certain ways. So I think
Always.
we found some personal
Always.
connections to this, and this was something that came about for me this week as we were considering this. I hope it's helpful for you too. So we've got a hypnotic meditation for you, as we do every week, to piggyback onto what April said about how it's unnatural, or it's difficult, or it feels delusional. That's how she put it. It feels delusional to adopt the belief that is opposite of our core wound for a little while. But one of the keystones, neurological keystones of deep learning is repetition. So they're just keep going and keep repeating this process, keep repeating these steps in your life, and it will feel less delusional. It will feel more natural. You'll learn the more of the truth, the more you can repeat. So in that spirit, as you get ready to join me for this hypnotic meditation, just go ahead and settle into a comfortable position. As you're doing that, I just want to say a couple things to kind of get us ready for it. Scientists believe that birds evolved from dinosaurs, right? That's kind of the current belief. And what a transformation, what a story of adaptation this is. One of the most extraordinary adaptations in the story of life. These just massive earthbound creatures, they learned to override, in a way they've learned to override a lot of what they might have believed to be their nature. And of course, this is metaphorical, but they completely reimagined their relationship to gravity itself. And now they fly, and now they master the skies. These giant earthbound creatures, what were once giant earthbound creatures. So you two are an adaptation in progress. Every challenge that you've ever faced, and every change that you've tried to make, every change in your life that you've endured, every role that's been put on you, it's all refined the design of your nervous system, and you're still evolving. So settle into a comfortable position. We're going to here's another neurological keystone of deep learning: having fun with your imagination. We're just going to have some fun with your imagination today with this one. We talked about some heaviness with this, with core wounds. We're going to lighten it up with this one, quite literally. So again, two neurological keystones of deep learning: repetition and having fun with your imagination. You'll notice that if you joined us before, that the way I start these off, I repeat it week in and week out. Repetition is a neurological keystone of deep learning. You're getting better and better at these steps that I'm suggesting to you that help put you into a predominantly alpha brainwave state, a focused and receptive state where you can cultivate a deeper relationship with your adaptive unconscious, with your subconscious mind. So now is the time to relax. We're going to have a little bit of fun with your imagination, another neurological keystone of deep learning. Just release the worries and stresses of the day, and just know that by allowing yourself to relax more deeply here, you're going to have a better week and definitely a better day. So you're exactly where you need to be. As you become more comfortable, you just begin to let go of all the tension in your body, allowing yourself to fully relax. And imagine a wave of relaxation flowing from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. 1, 2, 3. And again, this repetition is intentional. I'd like you to take your attention to a spot on the wall above your natural eye gaze. So your eyes will be upturned, and I want you to take a deep breath in and really focus in on that spot. You might squint your eyes to focus in on every little detail. And as you take a natural breath out, look through the spot as if you could look through the wall of the ceiling. Relaxed gaze, initiating your peripheral vision. You might notice the corners of the room. And when you're ready, close your eyes. This one intentional step takes out a lot of the external stimuli and helps to drop you into an alpha brainwave state. Now relax your jaw. And as you do, this sends a signal to every muscle, nerve, and cell in your body that now is the time to relax. You have nothing to do right now. No one to be, nowhere to go. You're in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. And just relax your jaw and really let it hang there naturally. Gradually slow down your breathing now. Just get into a comfortable slower rhythm of breathing. And here's the key: allow your exhalation to be a little longer. Breathe all the air out of your lungs, but don't force anything. Just a relaxed, slower rate of breathing with a really long exhalation. Good. And now relax the back of your tongue. See how relaxed you can get this part of your body that you most often never think about. Just allow your tongue to rest, decoupling your tongue from the part of your mind that's always preparing to speak. And bring your attention to the surface beneath you. And as you do, it helps you draw your consciousness into your heart. Drop your consciousness into your heart right now, whatever that means for you. We so often think about our mind, the seat of our consciousness, as in our head, somewhere behind our eyes. See if you can imagine the seat of your consciousness residing somewhere in the middle of your chest. Again, don't sweat it. Whatever you're experiencing right now is exactly right. Good. Again, take your attention to the surface beneath you. The sense, the feeling of gravity itself, gently holding you down. And as you get a little more quiet, it's almost as if you can sense the quiet presence of the whole earth beneath you, allowing you to settle in even more comfortably. And as you take in another deep breath, you send your awareness down into the earth, deeper and deeper into the earth, all the way down to the very center of the earth, grounded and supported. And as that awareness fades, you go even more deeply and even more comfortably relaxed. As you take your next breath in, you might even imagine drawing up some of that grounded, supportive energy from the earth into your body. But now, allow your mind to take your awareness up, higher and higher, all the way to the very center of the universe, whatever that means for you. The realm of inspiration, divinity, if you have those beliefs. And you might even want to call in some of your helpers, as you know them, spiritual allies, if you have those beliefs. Otherwise, just use your imagination to connect to the center of the universe, something so much bigger. And as you take another deep breath in, you might imagine drawing in some of that energy of inspiration down into your body, and let that energy of earth, grounded and supported, and that energy of the center of the universe, inspiration, to intermingle in that balance point of your heart. Good. And imagine a warm golden light surrounding your body, infusing your body, filling you with a deep sense of peace and tranquility. And it's almost weightless. This is a very spacious sense you can feel right now. As you focus on this sense of spaciousness, it's almost as if you can't tell where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. And part of that is because you are intrinsically linked to every part of the universe. And as you start to sense this feeling of spaciousness all around you, just relax into it, and you notice your mind and your body are quiet enough now to feel the flow of life all around you. Warm, luminous even, and just drop back into that flow now and just let go into that flow of life. Feel it. And in this way, you are connected to all life. There's an inherent connection within you to all of life itself, including the birds we spoke of earlier. So as I count down from 1 to 5, you'll become even more deeply and comfortably relaxed. And this is where we're going to have some fun with your imagination. Just start to get a sense of your inherent connection to all of life itself. 1, feeling the feeling of the surface beneath you, gently supporting you. 2, that sense of spaciousness, that interconnectedness with all of the universe. 3, that flow of life moving all around you, connecting you to every bit of life in the universe. 4, tuning in to the life form that is birds. Just tune your consciousness in to that form of life. And 5, feeling so relaxed, grounded. Now, first, with the magic of your mind, imagine a moment where you might need to be heard. You might need to make yourself heard. And you might have trouble doing that. So connect with a particular bird now, using your imagination. This is a songbird. Whatever songbird is coming into your imagination right now is exactly right. And you can even almost hear its song in your mind. Your mind is so powerful, whether you hear it or not. You have a sense now of this song, of this songbird that has come to mind. Just get a feel for that, what that bird is experiencing as it's producing this song, and it's probably beautiful. Get a feel in your body of what it feels like to create this song. Where do you feel that feeling in your body? Allow yourself to enjoy this feeling of creating this song. It's beautiful. And next time you need to be heard, you can instantly and automatically bring up this experience, this songbird experience, where you're connected to this form of life through your innate connection to all of life itself. You feel it in your body. And if it's okay with you, you'll remember this feeling next time you need to be heard. Now allow that scene to completely fade away and take your attention to the feeling of the surface beneath you. And as you do, you can imagine a particular case where you might need to be seen. You might need visibility. This might be for a business. This might be in a relationship. You might need to be seen in some case. Now, with the power of your mind, again, connect to that flow of life and connect in with a particular bird, a peacock. Brilliant, fully spread tail, shivering, shimmering. Just allow yourself to picture this now with the magic of your mind. You might not see anything, but you feel it. You feel what that's like to have a beautiful, fully spread peacock tail. And then you can shake it and get a little more attention. Now feel this, what this might feel like, as if you were a peacock, spreading your tail, walking around, effortlessly getting all the attention that you ever need, all the visibility that you ever need, so that the next time, if it's okay with you, your subconscious will automatically recall this experience you're having right now in your own mind of embodying this visibility, this peacock with this brilliant shivering tail. It will help give you the confidence to get the visibility that you need. And allow that scene to fade away. We're going to have some quick fun with the imagination with this one, with one more example. Imagine a situation in your life that's a little confusing. You might not have the whole picture. You might not have all the information, but you want to have a bigger picture. You want to get a higher perspective. Connect now with the magic of your mind. Connect now with a soaring hawk, riding the thermals up higher and higher, completely effortless, gliding on the wind, feeling a light breeze under your wings now. Wings spread out to each side, just the feathers ruffle a little bit in the breeze. You don't have to do a thing. You just ride that breeze up and notice what you see below you. You see a fuller view. You get a higher perspective. You can see more factors at play in the world down below. You see movements that you would not see from the ground. You've got a higher perspective here. So if it's okay with you, moving forward, first of all, I want you to really feel into this view. Feel into what it feels like in your body to be soaring up above and having this higher perspective. Just let your body feel what that feels like. And so that now, moving forward, if it's okay with you, you can easily and automatically conjure this feeling when you need to get a higher perspective about something in your life. And because your mind is so powerful, these tools, they might just seem like silly imagination. You can conjure them because of this experience right here, right now, allowing yourself to have fun with your imagination, allowing yourself to feel what this actually feels like in your body. You will be automatically, instantly back to this experience when you need it, so that when you need a higher perspective, you can feel this feeling of soaring above, riding the thermals, getting the higher perspective, seeing the movements below that you weren't able to see before. Now allow that scene to fade away. You might even have some fun with your imagination and land. If you're a soaring hawk right now, you might want to land right back on the ground. Either way, take your attention again, once again, to the surface beneath you, gently supporting you, the feeling of gravity itself, holding you to the surface you're lying upon. And when I count to 3, we'll emerge from this hypnotic meditation feeling great, as if you've got 3 new, powerful, fun tools to use to help you this week or onward for the rest of your life if you'd like. 3, feeling that surface beneath you, supported, grounded. 2, take your attention to the feeling of your feet and feel how alive your feet feel right now. And allow that feeling of aliveness to come up from your feet, up into your legs, all the way up to your head. And just take a moment to feel the aliveness of your whole body right now in this moment. And you might briefly check in with the songbird, that peacock, and then that hawk. And 1, wiggling your fingers and toes a little bit, opening your eyes, right back here on Subconscious Sundays. Thanks for joining me for this hypnotic meditation.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love birds. So like all the birds that came to my mind and my imagination were special and symbolic to me in some beautiful way
Awesome.
and
And
contained a memory.
Now, your creativity is spirituality, right?
Mhm.
So, you know that that image, that feeling of those birds is special to you. Hopefully, for you guys listening, you've kind of had something like that too, but you'd be able to revivify that experience on demand. But I want to point out here that adaptation is creativity, right?
Yes. I dare
So,
say evolution.
yeah, right. So using creativity in this way, having a little fun with your imagination, a neurological keystone of deep learning, can allow you to be more adaptable or more evolutionary in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only is imagination a keystone to learning, it's a keystone to peace building as well.
Hmm.
So, anytime that we're engaging in this type of work, we are building our capacity to create peace in the world as well as learn to become better at life or to progress or improve, as I said earlier. Now, there are obviously going to be times where you're going to need some assistance with this. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that Tim and I are educated, we're trained, and we are so eager to equip you with all of the tools necessary to move into that progress and that improvement in the way that your life feels. Some of the clients that we have brought on to either side of us, um, of our work have decided since we started the show to work with both of us. And we wanted to make it clear to you that the way to do that, to work with either of us, is in the description of every single one of our videos in Subconscious Sundays. And to work with either one of us, you just see which one goes to either one of us. And if you want to work with both of us and kind of have like this hypnotic meditative process in conjunction with talk therapy, you can start working with either one of us and we can come up with something that is just perfect for your needs and your schedule and your budget. So, the best way to start with that is to go into any description of any of our videos, including this one, and find each of our links. Click on the link and simply fill out a very brief form to set up a time to talk with either one of us at no additional charge and with no strings attached.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to add to that, we're so happy for you guys to join us on this. We love doing this. We love getting together with each other and you guys to be able to do this. We're both giving a little taste of kind of the work we do, right?
Tiny
I know
taste.
April, oh yeah, your spiritual counseling, it's like, deep listening. It's very insightful. Like it's the most supportive container that, I've ever felt really. And then, this hypnotic meditation that I do, it's different than the one-on-one hypnotherapy work. Like we're talking about ideas and, talking about how to live a better life and feel better on this show. And then we really dive into it specifically with the work we do.
Yeah.
And it's different than what you see here. We each go a lot deeper with you. So if you're seeking that, get in touch with us.
Yeah, it's very personal. It's very tailored to you. And I will say when I've worked with Tim on the hypnotherapy, I went to places in my mind I'd long forgotten about and had completely forgotten was and it didn't realize I had adapted to. So today's topic is so pertinent to everything that we offer and everything that Tim and I care about and everything that we tailor our services to. So I'm glad we brought it up today.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
I want to, lastly, I mean, I do want to reiterate one of your points here, because I think to me, it's my biggest takeaway. And I hope it's one of the biggest takeaways for everyone here. It's that developing almost, allowing yourself to develop a habit of noticing the evidence in your life where you are indeed blank enough.
yeah.
Allow yourself to notice that every day and celebrate
hmm
it.
hmm
Just want to
You'll find
reiterate that.
you'll find that very often it's the people that love you that give you that evidence. Yeah.
Right.
Just let it in.
And repetition is a neurological keystone of deep learning. So you got to keep doing it.
And you can do that creatively.
Yep.
It's true. And before we bounce off, I did want to recommend that if this topic was particularly interesting to you, I do recommend going back to previous seasons where or earlier this year, just a few episodes back when we talked about idols and ideals. We talked a little bit about this, and then way back in the first season, we talked about roles and masks. Awesome to pair with today's episode. So definitely give those a look. And with that, I think we'll say goodbye for today. We will be back actually not next week nor the next. Sorry, Tim. I meant to tell you, but in 3 weeks from now, we'll be back with a brand new episode and we look forward to seeing you then.